Crisis at the border continuing. Migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border are impacting ranchers and other civilians living along that border. The big question, how will the U.S. work to help protect citizens, protect their property, and to stop this from getting even more out of control? Border correspondent Jason Jones actually joining us live on a chopper with the Texas DPS above, I believe, Del Rio there. Sector. Talk to me about that, what you're seeing and where you're going. What's the mission right now?
Sean, good morning to you. Yeah, we're actually just outside of Del Rio. We are en route to a small community known as Bracketville, Texas in Kinney County. And we're over the Rio Grande River right now. Matter of fact, why don't you take a look here? You can see out the window. They've just had a pursuit with what's known as a bailout. That's where a smuggler will take a group of undocumented folks who crossed illegally into the country and then flee from law enforcement. So we're going to work that right now. Now, I want to tell you, it's been extremely busy since we've been down here. Take a look at yesterday, as we've been embedded all last really 3 days now with the Texas Department of Public Safety's elite aircraft. Our pilots today is Assistant Chief Stacy Holland and Tactical Flight Officer Jacqueline Gooding. But look at what we're seeing out here, because while we think of the criminal side of this, look at what's happening to private ranchers and the level of debris from people crossing illegally into the country.
This is private property. This is someone's home.
It is. And Jason, you know, we're right next to the Rio Grande River boundary. This is the border of Mexico, is literally right there, okay, behind this cane. I just took you to another one that's 23 miles into the interior. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. It's not isolated to the river boundary. I mean, we're seeing these debris fields on these ranchers 30, 40, 50 miles in the United States from the boundary, you know, and so this is something that's impacting all ranchers in all sectors.
And Sean, here's the thing about this. You know, you come down here and we're en route to another pursuit with a bailout, which they're working back to back all the time. Yesterday, they rescued 4 individuals who are Mexican citizens just due to the sheer environment of the heat. But we come out here and you expect to see a lot of that. What you really get to see is that crimes are impacting the American people down here. And there's just so many different layers to what's really taking place. So while we're en route right now to this pursuit, and we'll get you footage from that, it's just another example of what's taking place every day down here on the southwest border. Back to you.
Perhaps you can show all that littering there on property, on land to environmentalists. Maybe you get them on your side there to work to clean up that border. Who knows? Jason Jones live there in the chopper for us. Jason, thank you. Our next guest is Pinal County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Lamb. Always good to see you, Sheriff, and taking the time. We do appreciate that. Before I get you on the border, we just saw Jason there in the chopper there over the Rio Grande. I'll talk to you about that, but I want to talk to you first about what unfolded in Uvalde. There's so much to this. As far as the investigation goes, police there reportedly stopped cooperating, at least the chief did, with the Texas DPS investigation. The Rangers said that they haven't heard from him in a couple of days for more questioning. And there are a lot of questions about what happened that day, undoubtedly. But in regards to school safety, I'm going to play this for you. Senator Ted Cruz had this to say, and I'll get your response. Here's that.
Senate Democrats cynically blocked school safety funding in Grassley Cruz, and they have repeatedly blocked my legislation to allow schools to access $1.3 billion in federal funds to improve school safety. Had Uvalde gotten a grant to upgrade the school security, they might have made changes that could have stopped this shooter.
There are several politicians that are coming on programs offering their advice of what could have been done, what could be implemented in the future. You watch this play out. You're in law enforcement. What needs to be in schools? What doesn't need to be in schools?
Well, Sean, thanks for having me on. We certainly need to do a better job of protecting our children. These are the most innocent and most precious of our future. We've got to do a better job of protecting them. I think we've got to do a better job of having one entry point into schools, and we should get back to school resource officers. We've got a grant here through the state, which is going to allow us to access those cameras within those schools as well, thus hopefully avoiding any situations where we're not able to know where the shooter is at in the school, which might, paralyze us a little bit. We want to be able to react to it, heaven forbid a shooting happen. We want to be able to react to it appropriately and be able to neutralize the threat as quickly as possible. So there's a lot that we're doing here. And I know that we can do better as a country. Ted Cruz is right. There's plenty of money out there. We've got $40 billion to give to Ukraine. We certainly have enough money to send to some schools so we can protect them more.
And again, tragedy aside, investigation still ongoing there in Uvalde. But politicians, it's nonstop. Second Amendment, gun control, gun reform, gun laws. You mentioned Ukraine, $700 million, not with the $40 billion, in excess of $700 million now, an extra of ammunition, of weaponry, et cetera, now going over to Ukraine. Yet there's this talk of a potential executive order by this White House. We don't know what it's going to be. We know that the president, or at least the White House, says they don't agree with banning all guns, but they do want to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. You are obviously a professional dealing with arms. Talk to me about that Second Amendment, your thoughts on that, and a potential executive order.
Look, I won't be lectured on gun control by people who left over 300,000 high-capacity firearms in Afghanistan in the hands of terrorists. Look, these folks, they're just using this as a political tool, and it's shameful that they're doing it. As Americans, I know this is a tragic situation, but gun control is not going to stop what happened in Uvalde, Texas. As a matter of fact, we'll only embolden criminals. You cannot give an inch on the Second Amendment. Here's what I have to say. If you're willing to take the guns out of it, this is an amendment on the Constitution. Which one are you willing to give up? If you don't like guns, which one are you willing to give up? Maybe the First Amendment, your freedom of speech. Maybe you only go to church one Sunday every month. Maybe you let the police come and search your home every time. For me, this is about the Constitution. This is a constitutional amendment, and I swore an oath to protect every single amendment, whether I agree with them or don't, which I do, by the way. People who don't like guns need to look at this not from a gun perspective, but look at it from, this is a constitutional amendment, and we must protect the Constitution or we're going to fall.
Sheriff, final thoughts on that, and I'll just stick on this topic here if I can with you. And I spoke with another Texas official earlier, but from Arizona, they are watching the investigation, not the tragedy, but the investigation of what's happening in Uvalde. Is there frustration with you? I mean, you know what it's like to lead. You know what it's like to be calling the shots, to lead. Watching how things have unfolded thus far in Uvalde with the investigation and what was allowed to happen, is there frustration with that for you?
I got to be honest with you, Sean. I think my frustration is with the media. You know, we don't know what the truth is because of how many different rumors we've heard out there. And I've heard conflicting information from people actually on the ground. And this isn't helping those families be able to grieve and us as Americans come together and be able to just to comfort those in need of comfort and mourn with those that mourn. And like your last guest said, frankly, what we have to do is come together and bring God back into our lives. We need to get back to the family values that this country was built on. And that's really what's going to fix this country. So my frustration is really, honestly, with the amount of information the media keeps trying to put out, because everybody wants the angle on a story. And the reality is this was a tragedy committed by somebody who had major mental health issues and who used a gun to do it. And he actually shot 19 children and an adult, a couple teachers. And that right there is the tragedy. And my heart goes out to those families. But yeah, I guess my frustration is with the media.
I appreciate the candidness of that. Sheriff Mark Lamb joining us live there from Arizona. Sheriff, good to see you as always.
Thank you, Sean. God bless.
You too.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.